Hello, welcome to my senior recital, my virtual senior recital. This is not how I anticipated this event to go, if you'd asked me a few years ago, but it's fine. And today I have a selection of pieces that I have written over the course of my time here at Western. I hope you enjoy them. Okay, so the first piece I have for you guys today is my Percussion Trio. It's 3 movements, fast, slow, fast, and this is by far the piece that took me the longest to write. It took me about 2 years. A lot of time and effort went into this one. So this is for 3 players on 2 instruments. It's 2 players on 1 5-octave marimba and 1 vibraphone player. There's lots of syncopation. It's quite technical, as a lot of percussion music tends to be. And it was actually inspired a lot by pop and rock music, and you might not get those references, and that's okay because they're kind of obscure anyway. So the first movement is the fastest and the most asymmetrical. It's not in 4/4, it's in 7/8 and 5/8, so you have this kind of feeling of skipping forward to the next bar. It's not in a key in the conventional sense. You don't have your typical 1-4-5-1, but you do have a recognizable pitch center. The vibraphone in this is the clear lead instrument. It takes the melody, it takes all the lead lines. That's what it does. And so that one's fun. The second movement is the oldest. It's the first that I wrote in this entire set. It's modal, not tonal. And it's supposed to be a texture piece. There's no real clear-cut melody. There's no identifiable form. It just kind of grows as it goes on. And the reason I wrote this piece, and the reason I wrote any of these actually, is because I wrote this for bowed vibraphone, and I had heard bowed vibraphone at a concert before, and it was just one of the coolest sounds I had ever heard. And it was right then and there that I decided I wanted to do something like this, so I did, and that's where this movement came from. And the third movement is the last one I wrote. It was the final movement, and it's also the finale, which is kind of fitting. It was supposed to make academic music, technical, difficult stuff, sound fun, sound enjoyable, and good to listen to instead of just being kind of I'm better than you music. And so in contrast to the first movement, the vibraphone here takes the place of like a piano playing chords in the background. I wrote this to be very harmonically interesting as well as very rhythmically interesting, although I wrote it mostly with harmony in mind. And there was originally a 4th movement to the set, actually. It just kind of didn't fit, so I took it out. But in place of that, I put in a section that is kind of reminiscent of it towards the end of this piece. And so I guess you can call this my labor of love while I've been here. Sadly, it's not been performed live, but maybe one day. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the next example I have is from my film scoring class I got to do, and it's a cartoon called Super Chicken. It's an older cartoon, and this was actually perfect because I used to watch a lot of old cartoons when I was growing up. I watched a lot of Looney Tunes, a lot of Tom and Jerry, and so this kind of music really was, I don't want to say second nature to me, but it was very natural, and I had a lot of fun doing this one. I think the music fits really well, so hope you enjoy it.
When you find yourself in danger, when you're threatened by a stranger, when it looks like you will take a licking, there is someone waiting who will hurry up and rescue you. Just call for Super Chicken. Fred, if you're afraid, you'll have to overlook it. Besides, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. He will drink his super sauce and throw the bad guys for a loss, and he will bring them in alive and kicking. There is one thing you should learn when there is no one else to turn to. Call for Super Chicken. Call for Super Chicken.
Our story opens aboard Preceding Airlines Flight 17 from Dodge City to Denver.
All right, everybody, reach. This here's a stick-up.
Arthur, dear, the movie's on.
Movie?
Another Western?
I ain't no movie, mister.
Then you are the ugliest stewardess I ever saw. And almost the meanest.
Now put all your valuables in this here hat.
The plane robber passed along the aisle collecting money, watches, rings, and after-dinner mints. And when he was through...
Now keep them seatbelts fastened till I'm gone, you hear me? Geronimo!
The masked man. He's going away and we didn't even get his name.
Do you suppose it was you-know-who?
No, it weren't. Hiccup's the name. Wild Ralph Hiccup.
The daring bandit had planned his getaway jump with pinpoint accuracy.
I think you ought to know, hoss. I don't take kindly to that.
On flight after flight, Wild Ralph Hiccup struck again.
Sit still or I'm gonna shoot somebody. Maybe me. Geronimo! One of these days, hoss, you and me's gonna have a little talk.
News of the robberies finally reached Miami, vacation playground of Henry Cabot Henhouse III, better known as Super Chicken.
Look at this Super Chicken.
Please, Fred, when I'm not on the sauce, call me
Henry.
Mr. Henhouse.
Mr. Henhouse? Boy, you sure know how to hurt a guy.
You knew the job was dangerous when you took it, Fred. Wild Ralph Hiccup is robbing planes again. This looks like a job for...
Mr. Henhouse.
Fred.
Oh, all right. For Super Chicken.
Right. You get the sand pail and the rubber ducky, and I'll change in the cabana.
Here's the super sauce. What's the matter?
Got sand in it, Fred, and...
The super sauce took effect and the mild-mannered fowl was changed into Super Chicken.
Come on, Fred. We've got to catch a plane.
Roger Wilcox.
Disguised as Super Chicken and Fred, Super Chicken and Fred flew back and forth from Miami to Cedar Rapids for 4 straight days.
And I've got enough tickets for 26 more trips, too.
How come we're clear back in the economy section, Super Chicken?
Just be glad we have seats, Fred.
How come?
Did you ever try to book space for a chicken and a lion?
Then at that moment...
All right, folksies, just put your valuables in the hat.
I wonder why.
Probably for safekeeping, Fred. They can't be too careful with all those robberies going on.
Now, don't nobody follow me or I'm gonna shoot. And my name ain't Wild Ralph Hiccup.
Wild Ralph Hiccup? We've been robbed.
Don't make a scene, Fred. Things are embarrassing enough. After him. Better give up, Ralph. We've got you cornered.
Super Chicken. You'll never get me.
Stop that. Somebody could get hurt.
Which reminds me, how do we keep from getting hurt when we hit the ground?
Well, I used my super brain, Fred.
Yes?
I brought a parachute.
Just one? You
knew the job was dangerous when you took it.
I know. I thought you were going to speak to him about that. He's getting away.
No, he's not. Get on my back, Fred. There's not a horse alive that can outrun Super Chicken.
Whoa, now, easy, big fella. Well, what are you waiting for?
You're supposed to say giddy up.
Sorry, giddy up.
And the mighty chicken streaked across the plain.
Hi-yo, chicken! Away!
We can corner him on the cliff.
Sure enough, Wild Ralph Hiccup was trapped at the edge of Breakneck Cliff.
Super Chicken, why didn't you stop?
You didn't say whoa.
All right. Whoa, whoa!
It's a little late now, Fred.
Quickly picking up the trail again, Super Chicken tracked Wild Ralph Hiccup to the little western town of Soapwater.
The chicken says he'll meet you in the street at high noon.
Well, then he's a goner, because I'm the fastest gun in the West.
No kidding.
I'll show you. Just keep your eye on this coin.
Ooh!
Let that be a lesson to you. Never trust a man who throws money around.
It was now high noon, and the fastest gun in the West went out to meet the fastest chicken in Pittsburgh. Tension filled the air like peanut brittle. Then Wild Ralph made his play.
I'll tell you what. I'll flip a coin to see who draws first.
No, let me flip Fred instead.
And while the amazed bandit watched Fred flip, Super Chicken drew back his super fist.
Heads. I win.
Wild Ralph was knocked across the street and into a handy jail cell.
But Super Chicken, I didn't even see you hit him.
That was my super punch, Fred. It travels too fast for the eye to follow. Took you by surprise, didn't it, Ralph?
Surprise? You could have knocked me down with a feather.
I did.
And now we go home, right, Cassius? Super Chicken?
No, Fred. I still have 26 more tickets from Miami to Cedar Rapids. We can't let them go to waste.
Oh, boy.
Once again, the nation's airways have been made safe for democracy. So when you hear that cry in the sky, you'll know Super Chicken has 3 more trips to go.
Okay, so the next example I have is also from my film scoring class. It's from a movie called Bright Star, which is a 19th century period drama. This scene is about 2 people saying goodbye to each other, possibly forever. And it's pretty predominantly a sad scene, but there are also moments of tenderness and affection. And so I wanted to capture that whole range of emotions, but I also wanted to do that in a style appropriate to the time period. And so I used a lot of piano because the 19th century romantic composers were very largely known for piano, Beethoven, Liszt, Chopin. And I also wanted to add string accompaniment because, strings make everything better. I hope you enjoy. It's fun.
We should say our goodbyes now.
Shall we awake? Fine, all this is a dream. There must be another life. You can't be created to this kind of suffering.
I doubt that we will see each other again on this earth.
Then why are you leaving? Why must you go?
Because my friends have paid my way. It is a hopeless hope, but how can I refuse them?
Say you're too ill.
We have woven a web, you and I. Attached to this world, but a separate world of our own invention. We must cut the threads, Fanny.
No. I can't. I never will. You know I would do anything.
have a conscience. Let's pretend I will return in spring.
You will return.
We will live in the country.
Close to Mama.
And our bedroom will look out onto a little apple orchard. And beyond that, a mountain in a mist.
We can make a garden where every sort of wildflower grows.
We will go to bed while the sun is still high.
And when it becomes dark, the moon will shine through the shutters.
And I will hold you close and kiss your breasts, your arms, your waist.
Everywhere.
Touch has a memory.
I know it.
Okay, so the last example I have is from a Buster Keaton silent film called The Scarecrow. And it's comical, it's funny, you know, a lot of these silent films tended to be, so I wanted the music to reflect that. It's very upbeat, very comical. And I actually have seen silent films in person before. A few years ago, I went on a date, and after dinner, we went and watched a silent film at the Elsinore. And I wanted to recreate that kind of nostalgic feeling that I had when I watched these, so I added some film projector noise to this. I added a filter that made it sound very 1920, 1930, and I just really wanted to recreate that feeling of being there watching a silent film for the first time, and so I hope you enjoy. Okay, so the next example I have for you guys is for my jazz arranging class, and this was a year-long class, so there was a lot of time and effort that went into this. And so, a short rundown of what jazz arranging is you take a song that, you know, someone will probably know. In this case, it's So Nice or Summer Samba. I don't know why it has two names, but you take this piece and you arrange it for a 16-piece big band. And then you add a solo section, you write a sax solo, so the third section I wrote entirely, and then you bring back the main melody. And so the whole class spent about a year doing this, and at the end of it we all got to go up to Portland and have these read by Art Abrams' Singing Machine. And let me tell you, that was quite the experience, because this recording was from their second sight read through this piece, and it's basically perfect. Okay, so the next piece I have for you is one that has no title because I'm terrible at titles, but that's fine. This is kind of I guess a jazzier song. I kind of wrote it out of nowhere. It just came to me one day, I guess you could say. It wasn't related to any other thing I was working on. It just kind of happened. And it's mostly sampled instruments, so, I had to program them into the computer. But the piano and the bass, I'm actually playing both of those. this is kind of like a melancholy, kind of sad. A lot of people have told me very different things about what they feel when they listen to this, and that's kind of the point of music. It's up to your interpretation. I had a lot of fun writing this. I really enjoy it. I think it's quite pretty, but of course I would. So, hope you like it. The next collection of music I have for you, because this is a couple, is these are supposed to sound like video game music, from something from the 80s, a Nintendo era. I kind of wrote these as palette cleansers. They weren't really part of anything else I was doing. I got really sick of whatever I was working on at the time. I don't even remember what it was. But I wrote these just because I wanted something that was actually fun to do, and I found these fun to do, so I did a few of them. I never actually really played a lot of these types of games growing up. I don't know where I internalized this sound, but it works. They're convincing to me, but hope they're convincing to you. Okay, so this is the final thing I have for this recital, and it's also a video game music song. It's the longest by far, and has a very embarrassingly dumb accompanying video that I had to do very last minute. I had about 3 hours to do this for a class project. The song was done before, but this video, it's terrible. It is really bad. And basically the premise is that this music sounds adventurous to me, so I made this extremely poor adventure story video to go along with it. I'm kind of embarrassed of this, but you know, it's fun, kind of. I hope it at least makes someone laugh. Have fun with it. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of my virtual senior recital. I'm sure it was a journey for you. Please ignore the fact that I am dressed differently and my hair is longer. This is a different day that I'm recording this. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it greatly, and I'm sure that you've noticed that this video is a little bit longer than this point. So I have a section of typical Q&A questions you get at the end of a senior recital, especially a composition recital, so stay tuned. Why did I start studying music? Well, I guess it all started in high school, where I was a violist in my high school's orchestra, and that was probably the only part of high school I ever really looked forward to, except for maybe my mechanics class. But my senior year, I started writing a little bit of music. I started arranging a couple songs for our orchestra that ended up being on our senior concert, and I think it all just kind of started there. Originally, I was not a music major. I went to school for the first year for mechanical engineering, but it was really soul-sucking. I didn't enjoy it very much, so I came to Western and I studied composition. I like music. I guess that's the short answer as to why. The age-old question, what are you going to do when you graduate as a creative arts major of any sort? Truth be told, I'm probably going to take a small break from music. Not for a long time, but, I'm a little burnt out. I'll probably go work as a photographer. I'll just try to find a normal job for now, something to make some money so I can pay back my loans. I haven't really planned much further than that, so I guess we'll see where this all takes me. No, this is not all the music I've written. I've probably honestly worked on as many of other people's works as I have on my own. I've done a lot of mixing for my friends. I've arranged a few songs. I've done a bunch of transcriptions, and I have actually also written more. I have a duet that I wrote for 2 violas. I have a string quartet that is not finished that I've been working on. Just a bunch of unfinished projects. But no, this is not all the music I've written. This is kind of a difficult question to answer, and it's one I actually get asked a lot, and I still haven't gotten better about how to answer it because, frankly, it's a pretty broad question. It's going to be different for everyone, and it's certainly different for me than it is for other people. I just kind of do. I don't think about it. It's just kind of a way for me to express myself, and I'll dig a little bit deeper into that. This is an interesting question because I don't necessarily go out of my way to try to find inspiration. I don't go listen to other people's work and then try to do something that's similar to it. I don't really ever strive to do something that's exactly like someone else, unless it's like what I should be doing, like for the film scores. I guess I just listen to a lot of music, a lot of different music. Like I'll listen to string quartets a lot. I'll listen to classical music of different kinds. I listen to a lot of rock music primarily. I'll listen to R&B, jazz, Brazilian music, pretty much anything. I even like some good electronic music from time to time. I guess that's mostly it. I just listen a lot. I just try to internalize a lot of different kind of music. But I don't ever try to just copy it, if that makes sense. my process, I guess, is kind of interesting. Most of the time I'll start with an instrument in my hands. I'll play my guitar, or I'll sit at a keyboard or something like that. Sometimes I'll have one of my music programs open with some synthesizers, virtual instruments, and I just kind of play until I find something I like, and then from there I go through the compositional process, so to say, of like expanding my ideas, elaborating, I guess, different aspects, adding different harmonies, adding different form types, you know. I really like to experiment, I guess, before I come up with something I'm happy with. And then comes the part where it becomes difficult because I'm trying to figure out what to do next because the possibilities are endless. That's usually where I get stuck, is I am too ambitious, and then I have to give myself a reality check and then cut back and, you know, think, what do I need to make this better? What do I need to make this good? And so that's why it takes me a while to write things sometimes, like the Percussion Trio at the beginning. The first movement, it really was an exercise in developing ideas, and that's why it's so similar the whole way through. You basically have two main ideas throughout that whole first movement. The second movement, I basically just wanted something to grow kind of organically as it went on. The third movement was kind of an exercise in form. It's a rondo form, which means that you have your main part, then you go off to another part, then you come back to your main part, and then you can go off to another different section again, and you'll always end on your main A section. So if you want to go back and listen to that, look out for that form. You'll find it. I'm a big fan of that form too, because you'll see it in the music video, the song to the music video that just played before this. Sorry. I guess my process is climbing a mountain, because, you know, it starts out fun, and then by the end of it you're kind of winded and you're like, I just want to get back down, you know. I still really enjoy it though. I don't regret it. I wouldn't change. Well, I would change it a little, hopefully, to make it a little less frustrating. But other than that, I mean, I don't really know how to go about that. It really is just kind of like, okay, some idea hits me, and then I'll run with that for a little while, and then I might put it away for weeks or months or something. Then I'll come back to it kind of reinvigorated, wanting to work on it again. And it just kind of goes in that cycle until I finally decide, you know what, this is done. And that's actually pretty much it. So scoring for film is a little bit different than writing music just on its own. You have a lot of things that you have to consider, like, you know, who are the characters, what do they represent, where are they, you know, in the frame, what's just going on in general, what's the mood of the scene, what's the atmosphere of the scene, which are two different things. You know, you have a lot of things laid out for you that you kind of have to capture musically, as opposed to writing music just for music's sake. You have to you just have to make it interesting. It doesn't really, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't really matter what it's about, if you know what I mean. You can't write, you know, happy Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies or whatever, and have that over a scene of someone fighting to the death to save their village of Twinkies. I don't know. It just doesn't fit. So, you know, you have to write music that fits the scene that you're writing for. And so my process for this is, first I'll watch the clip, the scene, multiple times. And I'll write down, you know, what happens, where, why it's important, why I should write something here, and what I should write. Like, not like necessarily something specific, but like a general idea of what I need to capture here. And I'll go through until I get to the end of a scene, and Then I'll start writing. I'll import it into my, it's called a DAW, a digital audio workstation. It's where I have all my digital instruments. Let's see. I don't think any of the film clips in this video had actual live players. Oh, Bright started. I was playing violin and viola at the very end of it, but the rest of it was all sampled instruments. So I'll import the video clip into there, and then I'll play it in that program while I have some instrument up, and I'll just be playing something. I'll just be trying to play along, trying to capture this idea that's going on in the scene at this time. I guess it's kind of like my normal process. I'll just kind of start until something works, and then I'll keep going with that. And if it's supposed to be something that will be like thematic throughout the whole scene, I'll kind of keep that theme and I'll bring it back throughout the scene. But you can't have the same music playing for the whole time, because otherwise it'll just sound kind of weird, kind of uninteresting. And so there's just more you have to think about, but also less you have to think about. It's kind of strange. I really like scoring for film. I find that it's not as frustrating because you don't really have to make something that will stand up on its own, because it's not supposed to necessarily. It's going to be part of something else. And so there's also a collaborative aspect, I guess, of writing for film that you don't always get writing other types of music. You get to be part of something, and then this project ends up being done, and then your name gets to be on it along with a bunch of other talented people. So there's something gratifying about that, I think. Yeah, I like writing for film. I find it to be enjoyable. Well, that's all I had for all of you. Thank you so much for supporting me, for watching this. I really appreciate it. I kind of wish that we could have this live, but all things considered, this actually turned out pretty well. I feel this was a fun project to do. Actually, I got to use my camera for video, which I don't get to do very often. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone figuratively coming out to support me. It means a lot to me, so thank you.